that day shall this song be sung in the land of Judah. We have a strong city, salvation will be placed for walls and bulwarks. Open ye the gates, that the righteous nation which maintains that
Hey, good morning. Welcome to Line by Line Bible Studies. We're continuing today in the book of Proverbs. We're at verse 8. I was moving along so quick. Let's just start reading at 8. A gift is as a precious stone in the eyes of him that hath it. Whithersoever it turneth, it prospereth. Okay. He that covereth a transgression seeketh love, but he that repeateth a matter separateth very friends. A reproof entereth more into a wise man than 100 stripes into a fool. An evil man seeketh only rebellion, therefore a cruel messenger shall be sent against him. Let a bear robbed of her whelps meet a man, rather than a fool in his folly. Whoso rewardeth evil for good, evil shall not depart from his house. The beginning of strife is as when one the beginning of strife is as when I need to take on some water. And the euphemism clearly understood. The beginning of strife is as when one letteth out water. When one letteth out water. Quite a tongue twister. The beginning of strife is as when one letteth out water. Therefore leave off contention before it be meddled with. He that justifieth the wicked, and he that condemneth the just, even they both are abomination to the Lord. Wherefore is there a price in the hand of a fool to get wisdom, seeing he hath no heart to it? A friend loveth at all times. A brother is born for adversity. A man void of understanding striketh hands, becometh surety in the presence of his friend. He loveth transgression that loveth strife, and he that exalteth his gate seeketh destruction. He that hath a froward heart findeth no good, and he that hath a perverse tongue falleth into mischief. He that begetteth a fool doeth it to his sorrow. The father of a fool hath no joy. A merry heart doeth good like a medicine, but a broken spirit drieth the bones. A wicked man taketh a gift out of the bosom to pervert the ways of judgment. Wisdom is before him that hath understanding, but the eyes of a fool are in the ends of the earth. A foolish son is a grief to his father, bitterness are that bear him. Also to punish the just is not good, nor to strike princes for equity. He that hath knowledge spareth his words, and a man of understanding is of an evil spirit. I'm sorry. I'm just thinking of something else. He that hath knowledge spareth his words, and a man of understanding is of an excellent spirit. Makes me think of that one version of the Bible where they got thou shalt commit. Even a fool, when he holdeth his peace, counted wise. He that shutteth his lips, esteemed a man of understanding. Yeah. Because I was funny to me, I started to think of something. It's funny because I do this when I play guitar too, and it always makes me mess up. My brain will literally start thinking about other things while I'm reading or while I'm playing music, which is a weird experience. Mostly I'm focused on the words as I'm reading them, and I'm like understanding them. And that's what the other thing my brain is doing. I'm like reading them and translating them to my lips. With I think one part of my brain, I think it's the part responsible for speech, right? One half. The other half is doing something else. It is always doing something else, but usually it's there. But then I started thinking about, oh yeah, there was that email, and I wanted to respond. It was related. It was related to what I was reading there. Email I wanted to respond, and I was starting to think about my response. And then I was like, as a blah, I was an evil spirit, and I'm like, oh, nope, funny. A gift is as a precious stone in the eyes of him that hath it. I was thinking about this, and I even meant to look up another translation ahead of time, but I didn't, so we'll just go there. All right, we need to be at chapter 17. Bible Hub will I use here on this study. All right, we need verse 8. A bribe is seen as a charm by the one who gives it. They think success will come at every turn. Okay, because I thought perhaps, because the way it is translating the King James, and here's the thing, like I said, the NIV, which is what we look at here, is an interpretation in many ways. They don't always translate things directly, because a direct translation of certain idioms and things from the other language yields a translation that is very difficult for people to sometimes get through. I understand that. And but I do also think that should be minimal. And I think the NIV goes way too far. That's why I jokingly call it the devil's translation. But it's really an interpretation, and it's not devilish or get upset about it or quite out of line, really. But let's look at something that's a little more, just American Standard, and supposedly a little less translatey. Let's see if a bribe is a charm. Well, because I was going to say the word gift usually is bribe. But in this proverb, like if we just look at the text here in the plain sense, right? It definitely feels like it's like, oh, when you have a gift, it's like this wonderful thing. And wherever it goes, it does good. It's more blessed to give than to receive. That's how I feel. Like, I really, I kind of felt that initially, and I'm like, yeah, but this word gift is almost certainly means a bribe. But also a bribe is a gift too. But so this is meant kind of ironically. I mean, they think it is. That's why they translate it that way, or they interpret it that way. I thought that also, but I couldn't decide which. I actually thought I thought maybe I was going out on a limb trying to bring this back to bribery. I thought maybe people would think I was going on a limb trying to drag it back towards something negative. But I suppose it's being compared to a precious stone. What is it, but is it really something, obviously it's something that is of a value, right? And anyways, bribery, that's the whole thing it does. It corrupts people's judgment because they have their eye on this thing. And when people use bribery, like, I don't know. Even then, I'm not really a big fan of that. I almost like it's more blessed to give than receive than like this NIV thing or the New American Standard, where it says, a bribe is a charm in the sight of its owner. A charm? That's a weird translation. A precious stone? I don't know. Well, maybe a precious stone. Maybe I should look at let's go back to the King James here. This is more interesting. I don't want that Bible up on the right-hand side. We want the Strong's King James Version. You can't see me. Oh, you can't see the drop-down menu. That's all right. So we got gift is the word for bribe, usually a present. It does mean a present. It's not only. We have a precious as a stone is a separate word. In fact, it is a word. I'm not going to look it up because it is a stone. A favorable stone, him that hath it, whithersoever turns, prosper. I'm just looking for anything. All right, so let's look at this is the word for bribe. Shachad. I don't mean to be pretentious by using guttural, but if it's there, I'm going to do it just because I can. I learned it in German actually. Deutsch has the same thing. Das Buch, that kind of thing. Everyone loves to, when you do a good, if you're going to do a good fake German impression, you got to include a little bit of that. From Shachad, a donation, penal or redemptive. See, in a good or bad way. It can go either way. And I do think that the Proverbs, like I said, often the wisdom does go both ways. Because a gift given out of a good heart can be this thing that just it's the gift that keeps on giving. You know what I mean? So that's why I object to these translations that interpreted it so much. I mean, I got to give it to the King James here for leaving the ambiguity there that I think maybe is. It is a stone of favor or grace. That's the word for this. It's a stone. Precious stone would be a good thing, though it makes you think of a gemstone. Charm is a little weird. But charm is actually probably maybe good. A favorable stone may literally be like, oh, what's the word in Hebrew for a charm necklace? Oh, that would be favorable stone. Or something like a graceful stone, stone of excellence. Maybe that's literally the word. I don't know. Let's look in the, that's where we would look at the Brown Driver Briggs, is it would kind of give you a thing of there, let's say, with God. No, but here it doesn't have the Brown Driver Briggs. Would it cover with conjunctions like that? We bring two words together? I don't know. As a stone of favor or acceptance with men. Like I said, it seems like it's like this. Yeah, I like the idea. I do like the idea of this sort of a glowing emblem pendant of, of something that is like what someone might wear if one was in charge. Like a king could give you this pendant that you would wear that would show, well, this is the man who's in charge of my, who comes and goes. He has the keys of the kingdom. So a stone of favor or acceptance like that. Maybe that's the sort of thing it refers to with God. Yeah, but the word means from Hanan. It's the word of grace, right? In the Hebrew sense of graciousness from Hanan. I think also show favor. Beseech, bend or stoop in kindness to inferior. Oh, this is that benevolent grace. To bend or to stoop in kindness to that Hanan. Oh wait, I think I actually did. It got the guttural? No, it does. Hanan. All right. So that's very interesting. So I say that, at least for my money, this can go either way. Gifts can be corrupting. They can be venal or redemptive. A gift can be a good thing. A gift can be presented. The Lord has gifts for us. He gave what is it? And he gave gifts to men. All right, the Lord he led captivity captive, and he gave gifts. I forget exactly what precedes that, but it'll come to me probably later. Anyways, so gifts, when one does something evil by a gift, that's the thing is gifts, and this may say, I'm spending a lot of time on one proverb again, but it's okay because this is actually kind of, now I look at it, I think about it. It's a very important thought to bring out. Gifts and giving of gifts. We should give gifts with a good heart and giving them expecting nothing in return, as Jesus taught. We don't want to be using gifts to try to, keep strings on them. Like I've known people who are like that. It's like they give you something and then it's like forever after, it's like you owe them, or they think they're waiting for the reciprocal. And not that you shouldn't reciprocate gifts necessarily, but the gift should never be given with thoughts of reciprocation, of giving back, because that's not really giving a gift. That's just a trade. I know people for whom, they just tally everything they've ever given you, and they hold that. Oh, well, look what I've done for you, and it's like, apparently you just weighed me down with a bunch of strings you've attached to me, of all the gifts you gave me, apparently there was some sort of, it wasn't given out of a heart of giving, of wanting to help somebody, to make them prosper, to make them, help them get ahead or whatever. You know what I mean? To truly give. Like when we give of ourselves, selflessly, as we ought to give for the Lord's sake. You know, it's not so easy, of course. It's a high calling. But, because gifts with strings attached, that is what bribes are made of. You know, it's like, I'm not just giving you a gift. I expect something in return. I'm purchasing your corruption. You know, it's like the opposite. It's and what I'm saying is, yeah, there's bribery on one end of the spectrum, and then there's selfless giving on the other. Which, it's got this grace embedded in the idea of the stone. The idea of grace. Giving should be a matter of grace. It should be, that's the divine, the sort of the divine perfection on giving is a gift of the only kind of gift God ever can give, because no one owes him anything. He owes nobody anything. So when he gives, he's always giving something undeserved. Nobody can be worthy of his gifts. A gift is a precious. When you receive a gift from God, whatever gift it happens to be, you want to use that. It is precious. It makes me think of the talents. But you don't want to be so mindful of the preciousness of the gift that you bury it away in the earth. That's not the kind of preciousness we're talking about. The Lord's gifts, I guess, do the Lord's gifts come with strings attached? Well, salvation doesn't have further conditions beyond your faith. By grace, you're saved by grace through faith, and that not of yourself is the gift of God. But we do know that there's going to be a disappointment among some who think they have obtained this. And it's so simple, you figure, like, how could you miss it? How could you miss it? Right? Right? The salvation is not like this complicated thing. We just have to believe. That's the problem. People don't believe. Deep down, they don't believe. It must be. Because if they'd believe, they at some point you'd fear. I know I do. Whenever I get astray, I start going astray, the fear is in me. Not that I'm going to lose my salvation. I just don't want to be at the bottom, I don't mind, I don't have the vanity to think of myself as the least of his servants, whatever. I know I'm in the middle of the pack somewhere, right? I don't like to think of things like that. I don't mind high things like that. I'm just thinking of, in my service of what is expected of me, the level of what's God given me, what God has given me. Am I producing? Am I using my talents to the fullest? Because I just want to please my Lord, period. That's it. And this makes me think also of when it says about the Lord in the parable of the sower, right? The parable of the tares. Talents. Too many T words. Right? I know you are an austere man, right? Reaping where you did not sow. Now your God's gifts go, and wherever they turn, they prosper. He reaps where he didn't sow. That's what I'm saying. Gifts given are powerful like that. They say, pay it forward, right? You give some to someone, you don't know what happens. You do someone a good turn, you change their outlook on life. You restore their thought that God dwells among men. I almost said faith in humanity, but their faith that God dwells among men is the better way to say it. I have no faith in humanity. If I had any faith in humanity at all, which I think I kind of did, just like gravity, I assume gravity is the way it is, right? I expect it to be the value of one gravity the same tomorrow as it is today, right? Though that's not necessarily so, a meteor might come along and take off a big chunk of the South Pole, and suddenly gravity is a little different story. You're right. Whatever's going on, gravity's going to have a little different relationship with us through that process. All right, and I'm not making a prediction there by any means. But Also, humanity. I wake up day, and I expect humanity to be a certain way. I gotten used to humanity being a certain way, and I sort of had a faith in humanity like that. And the pandemic totally destroyed my faith in humanity. Such as it was, and it wasn't really that. I had a certain just outlook. I thought people are people, right? Like, oh, and I had not fully analyzed, though I kind of had known the things I believed about. I know what it says in the scriptures about what people will do, and somehow how it would all come to be seemed a little just almost fanciful to me. It's like you read it and you say you believe it because this is what it says, and like, wow, but you think like, how are such things possible? And then, experience reveals it's like, well, maybe it's actually quite quite easy. Human nature is not even as resilient as you might think. Anyways, God's gifts. I love that comparison though to the austere man reaps where he does not sow, because it's another thing on that. It's like God gives you a gift, and it's a precious thing. I'm like, wow, I've got this precious thing, a gift from God, the talents of the Lord. And so I got to take this and make this, because this is a powerful thing. It's like a talisman of God's power, on me, the talisman of God's favor on me. I can go and do things and be confident of victory. And I can prosper because he's given me these things. I like that interpretation so much better than the negative one about the bribery. But of course, like I said, there's two sides to wisdom. Not two sides, there's more than one side sometimes. Sometimes it's just two, right? But often, like I said, there's a spectrum. There's a ultimate corrupting gift, and then there's like a perfect gift. But there's along the line, there's gifts with little tiny strings attached and ones with bigger chains. So you mind yourself about gifts. He that covereth transgression seeketh love, but he that repeateth a matter separateth very friends. Sometimes people say things they shouldn't say. They're critical. They're upset. And she said this and she never that. And it's like, don't just jabber and repeat everything that is going to cause more trouble. That's disgusting behavior. Don't stir up strife. Those who God hates people that stir up strife. Just like, can I be strife still? It's a sin to be repentant of. There's no sin that God doesn't hate. He loves us. He's given Christ's blood. If you don't believe it, he died. If that isn't proof enough, I don't know what you want. But he needs us to be mindful, to at least acknowledge sinful. You can't go around thinking, I'm so good. I just told you what, it's like, oh, look at all the trouble I've caught. People can't be going around backbiting and doing all those things. And it's just wrong. And a lot of times they do it secretly, and they try to, you can get found out in these little things. People get to know who the one who jabbers on as soon as they start realizing when people start realizing what's going on. You can get these people, some people are almost like they can't. Because to me, a family enterprise is a lot like any other thing, like a business or something like that. You don't, and especially like a work of the Lord, you don't want to be unequally yoked with unbelievers. That's why, marriage, like it's good to be married to someone who's in the faith. I've talked about this ad nauseum, so we're not going to talk about it again, at least as far as like that goes. But being, family members that are very ungodly, it's very difficult to keep them around, because they will continually sow discord. They will continually undermine all your efforts at family peace and unity. And it's not, and they just, it's just an evil that just eats away like a canker. It's just no good. No good can come of it. It has to be stopped one way or the other. It means they got to stop, or you got to stop them. And that may mean separation. I always say that if husbands and wives can be divorced, other family relationships are also optional. Okay. How much less so? All that you have between you is blood. There's no oaths. My chief allegiance is to the Lord and to his family. my family that is in the Lord's family, then they are my very family, All right. A reproof entereth more into a wise man than 100 stripes to a fool. Yeah. One rebuke. But, can a wise person will take just one word. It's good to be to be that mindful of, being shown the right way. Let's look at reproof. What is it? I mean, correction, I'm thinking, or something like that to make. Well, I'm just curious what the Hebrew idea of reproof is. Here, a rebuke. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't look. Rebuke. Chiding, rebuke from God. What's our guide? Okay. And chiding is actually a less formal. Chide. What does chide mean? And then you look in the dictionary, it says rebuke. Yeah, to tell someone basically, hey, whatever you're doing, it's wrong, telling them off. But telling them what's going on, giving them let them know, like, hey, guess what? Whatever you're doing, whatever you're saying, no. And maybe not in that summary way. A gentle rebuke can do a lot of good. As a wise man rebuking others, be wise in your rebuking if you care about how what the results are. Like when you carry your tail one person to the other, you should think like, I'm going to destroy friendships. That should be on your mind. And if you think that's a good thing, you got to re-examine yourself. I mean, of course, this is all modified by what the secret is. Obviously, some secrets need to come to light. Actual criminal things, but I mean things where it's just like feelings or angry, just things, words. Now, obviously, I don't feel like I have to say this but it comes to mind because as a kids wrestling coach for many years, like I said, I get trained on child protection and stuff, as far as looking out for grooming behaviors and stuff like that. And obviously, yeah, he that covereth the transgression seeketh love. Yeah, you can want to make, we have an idea of like, well, we don't want to upset things, right? This is Uncle John and we don't want to, we love Uncle John and he's done something bad, but he won't do it again, blah, blah, and we have there's a lot of covering of transgression for the love's sake. People will do family and just for the love of peace. Like I said, and for the love of their own just normalcy. A lot of times people don't rebuke because of the whole casting your pearls before swine scenario, because oftentimes rebukes are not taken well. But obviously you have to tattletale on certain things when it's, love has to be measured, properly. You can't just measure love by like, okay, everyone's just not arguing with each other or everyone's, quiet about something awful going on in secret. Uncle John's, got, his niece or whatever, done something bad. I mean, I could be a lot more. Like I said, I've taken scenarios of different things. Is this abuse? What do you have to do? Do you have to report it? And any kind of sexual abuse of a minor or of anyone really, is any kind of criminal stuff like that. Yeah, you have to report it. Criminal sexual abuse, Again, but again, for the sake of friendship and all that, some things, there are some betrayals that go beyond friendship. Yes. So, but you gotta understand the weight for the sake of what are you going to destroy? I mean, and that's an important question because it's not always, like I said, when it's not someone's hurting someone or someone's destroying, it's basically when it's not someone hurting someone. When it's not someone hurting someone, when it's just maybe they said something out of hurt feelings or whatever, some words were said, like, I don't know if I trust them anymore or whatever. I'm never going to talk to them again. And it's like, but then the next day they feel different about it and they like to just go on, but instead you run off and tell a tale. That's a different thing. Again, 100 stripes into a fool. You can, no matter how hard the punishment and how many times, where foolishness is concerned, I've been a fool, so I understand. Even Solomon said, he set his heart to know madness and folly. When I remember when I was a child and I asked to know wisdom, in part, it's like I went through a lot of stuff in my life. Like I said, I could have had a much different trajectory. Like, my talentedness was recognized in school. They were pushing me this way and that way, but the Lord sort of intercepted me in a lot of the ways. And one of the ways he did intercepted me was my own folly. As far as me falling into it, the Lord finds us sometimes in our dark moments. So a reproof, I like this little cluster here. An evil man seeks only rebellion, therefore a cruel messenger shall be sent against him. Well, the man who seeks only rebellion is evil. It's not that evil men only look after, that's the only measure of an evil person. It's like they seek rebellion. Oh, if you don't seek rebellion, then let's look at rebellion. What is that? There are several words in Hebrew for evil, and one of them is a word that means like rebellion against authority. I wonder which one. What if it's not all similar to the word for transgression, which we have here also, right? We had transgression. We didn't look at that. Pesha. We'll bring that up along with the other one. Okay, rebellion. No, it's a different word. So transgression is pesha, or pesha, transgression, or pesha, right? From pasha, right? I had a bird named Pasha, rebellion, and it meant rebellion. And I was like, let's call our bird Pasha. All my birds were named after, except for the one that was given to us, they were all named after Canaanite deities, like Chemosh and Molech and all that, and Pasha. All right, rebellion. So, and that's pretty much what it means. Oh, and Mary also means rebellion. Different kind, a different word for it. From Mara, bitterness. Oh, the waters of Mara, right? From Pasha, and Pasha means, it's a primitive root meaning rebel or transgress. Transgression, right. A primitive through the idea of expansion to break away from just authority. That's Pasha, transgression. Whereas Mara is rebellion as bitterness. That's a very different route in which to come at the idea of rebellion, right? Even though one means to break away from authority, and the other one is sort of bitterness. It's a figurative thing to rebellion. So it's not an evil man that seeks to transgress necessarily. Ra'a, the usual word for only for a cruel messenger should be. Let's take a look at this in the interpretation. Evildoers foster rebellion against God. Messenger of death will be sent against. That's what I'm saying. That's not a translation, folks. All right. And I'm not a King James only guy. I just like it. I love the King James. It reads better than all the other ones. All the other ones make it sound weird. In my ears, I'm sorry. It's kind of funny. Therefore, a cruel messenger. What's they don't like metaphors? You know what I mean? It's like they hate metaphors. The messenger of death. Yes, of course. And that's the thing is if you follow the path of bitterness in life, the bitter rebellion, because and bitterness, I get it. Sometimes I feel bitter about things. As far as and I could definitely give myself over to that bitterness. I definitely taste it. There's bitter parts of life. Bitter, especially again, you think about in the world. The bitter things that the those in power do against those who have no power, yeah, it leads to bitter rebellion. I mean, the idea of rebellion as bitterness, I like to kind of reiterate that. I wonder what cruel messenger is in Hebrew, though. Is there something bitter to that? Like, I mean, is there carry over, kind of losing out on in the translation? Let's see. Here we go. Bitter, bitter, bitter. Cruel messenger. Never seen that word. Oh, messenger is malak. Oh, angel, right? Maybe it wasn't. Azkiri, cruel. But literally, cruel messenger here could be translated a cruel angel. I mean, the angel of cruelty. Akzari, cruel one. Akzar, terrible. Yep. Those that follow the path of rebellion, it's like there's an answer at the end that's like it doesn't, especially against God, like they say, godly authority. They want to make sure you should rebel against evil, of course, but we don't really, though that's true, that's usually not how we characterize it, right? Turning away from evil is not a rebellion, Though I'll tell you what, though the sins that so easily beset us, if you don't get bitter against them, and downright rebellious against those things, it's not a bad mindset to have. Because I love how I like to invert everything though. No, because the inversion is, a just man seeks peace. And the angel of peace sent to him. Those that seek, blessed are the peacemakers. Who's so rewarded? Oh, let a bear rob her wealth to meet a man rather than a fool in his folly. Okay. Proverb. Is there a more, do we need to paint a more bright picture? It's pretty, that's one of, think about it. That is, and I have no doubt that one of the reasons we think of this as one of the most, common metaphors of dangerous situations, meeting a bear robbed of her whelps. Everyone knows that is an angry bear and also a dangerous situation. And it's funny that we in this society, people still will use this thing. And, bear encounters are considered the most dangerous things, especially if they have cubs involved. And that goes back to biblical times. Like I said, most of us probably know about it because of the Bible, even though we don't know that. People are remarking on it for centuries without even really encountering bears. I've never met a bear, but I know about this, right? And a fool in his folly is just as dangerous. That's kind of like mind-blowing, right? But you don't realize it. Why? Because the outcome cannot be predicted. When people do foolish things, it's always like, if you're wise, well, it's not necessarily unexpected, but it can be. Because, like I said, I don't have faith in humanity, but I do. Just like gravity. Even if you don't trust people, you have some sort of trust of what you expect. You don't walk around with a bulletproof vest on, all the time, which, some people might, right? I don't know. But, if so you do trust people. You don't expect to be, that's why we are all horrified when we see these mass shootings, because we don't expect that kind of thing when we just go in public with other people. But, it's what people do. And the funny thing to me is that then we start arguing about whether or not guns should be legal why do people shoot up? Why do people want to kill people so bad? Isn't that a more pressing question? Because even when they can't get a hold of those kind of weapons, they do killing. And it's not like it's going to stop it. Why are people so filled with hatred? Why are kids that come out of schools, why do they hate those schools so much? You know what I mean? Why do they hate them so much? Everyone understands why workplace shootings would happen is because of some workplace grievance, right? I do think of school factories, especially for torture. They come out so messed up. So, yeah, you got to be careful around fools. You never know what's going to happen. And that's we all have some sort of trust in people, but you got to understand, a fool in the midst of stupidity. And I mean, the problem right now, we're all in that boat. Anyone who in the world is basically in that boat because we got in charge of our country basically fools in their folly. And this is the most powerful country in the world. And what that means is death to thousands and thousands of people, hundreds of thousands, probably millions, incoming. When you get fools, whoso rewardeth evil for good, evil shall not depart from him. When you do evil and people reward you when you do good to someone, they reward you with evil, man, pity on them. That's something God hates. Not depart from him. But I still see them, the wicked prosper. They only seem to prosper. The sentence of doom hangs over them. Not going. The beginning of strife is as one letteth out water. Therefore, leave off contention before it be meddled with. There you go. A very apt metaphor. Like starting to go pee. Once you start, you ever try to stop? I have, and it's not fun. Can't really do it. Can't really do it. It's a mess. I don't have to go into gory details, right? It can be a mess. And it hurts. Hurts. I don't know about girls, but, because a guy can physically stop it in the middle, but it really won't have it. It just sits there and waits for you to let it finish. It's like it's gonna finish right. The next thing that's what happens next is you're gonna finish. Strife is going to have it's going to continue to flow. You can maybe physically cut it off, but it's still there piping along. Once you start down a path of strife, and it often is that's people when they strive one with another. What is the word strife here, anyways? Adon. Strife, contention, sure. Adon, strife, contention. Anything interesting down at the bottom? From din, a contest, a quarrel. Yeah, so it does that type of strife. It is a striving between people. Contest. Often it becomes a contest. Often it becomes like about who's going to win. Often it becomes about egos and pride. I always, fortunately, in my married life, I always had like this sort of governor. I don't know if you know a governor. I'm talking like, you have I used to drive a truck and had a governor on. That meant it couldn't go above 65, which was the maximum speed limit of a highway in Illinois at the time. And so I get to 65 and I go, and we just kind of like stop because of the governor. All the drivers wanted to figure out how to disable the governor, but whatever, we didn't bother. I didn't even look under the hood back in those. That was not my business. I had this governor that sort of in married life that was like, I really care about our marriage, and so when it never ever went really anywhere bad, because it gets to a point where my brain, it occurs to me to say something, and I know, but I usually think about what I say before I say it. Sometimes people don't do that; they just speak, and that's not always a good idea. I thought would occur to me to say something, the idea, maybe not with a full sentence constructed, but the idea to say a particular thing that might be hurtful. And because of I care how this ends up, it makes me bite my tongue, and to prevent that from becoming a new path of strife. Because it's even worse than going to the bathroom, because in the middle of an argument, you can open up new paths of misery for yourself and your loved one by bringing up more stuff, A lot of times the problem is there's built up stuff. Like, even though it is sometimes difficult, I tell my wife many of the things that I have not liked over the, like if something doesn't please me. And the thing is, that can be kind of hard to please. But I also am very easy to please on another level. I say that, yeah, Paul both is demanding and also very gracious. Right? Weird thing to say, but the Lord is like that. The Lord is very demanding, very gracious. I kind of model myself after that. There's some things I really care about and other things for which I'm going to give you a lot of liberty, my children and wife and all that. Some things I'm going to be passionate about. Some things are going to mean a lot, unnegotiable. Other stuff is going to be totally different. But because we care about each other, we limit. Sometimes you can think of things to say that are much worse or that are really bad, and maybe even true, criticism, whatever. You keep it in. Zip your lip. Love your spouse by sometimes, you don't want to sacrifice too much of your own pleasure, I guess, or satisfaction. Yeah, satisfaction in marriage. You don't want to sacrifice all your satisfaction in marriage just for your spouse. That's wrong. But you don't want to be all about your own satisfaction and not about their satisfaction. It's got to be a mutually beneficial arrangement between the two of you. You have to give her some satisfaction. She has to give you some satisfaction. And I mean that in the differences of personality, wants, likes, dislikes, needs, various things are, you got to work it out between each other. You got to give a little, take a little. It should be a mutually, you have mutual interest in the other person's satisfaction. You got to realize that. Like, it's important to me that my spouse is happy. I say happy wife, happy life. I don't disagree. It definitely, I put my wife's face on my home screen of my phone because, in a slideshow thereof, because every time I open it up, I want to be reminded how happy I am in life. And I do, because I got a lot of things in my life that would drag me down. But the Lord has given me a good wife, and he that finds a good wife has found a good thing. And I always like to be reminded of those things God has given me. And by cherishing your spouse, it helps you remember perhaps to limit yourself. What you would say, what are you capable of saying to her or him? Limit that. Cap it. Don't say things, especially, I'm glad there are only a few times I ever said things I didn't mean. That's the worst thing. Don't say things you don't mean, just hurt. That's something whenever I did that, oh man, I regret that. I regretted that. Not because of anything they did per se, but the degree to which it hurt my wife, and then all the trouble I had to go through, convince her that, I didn't mean it. I didn't even remember anymore because I didn't mean. If it's a thought I don't have, it's hard for me to keep it in my head. Hard for me. I try not to get tied down with. I literally try not to get tied down to certain pathways of thinking because I want to encounter the Lord's Spirit very fresh-minded a lot. Leave off contention before. It doesn't matter. Meddled. Allah. To expose. Oh, yeah. Before it get opened up. It means to expose. I guess meddle is not really a good translation of expose. But anyway. He that justifieth the wicked, he that condemneth the just. Even they both are abomination. Yeah, because it's not just, whatever. Justifying the wicked and condemning the just, it goes back to rewarding evil for good. Those that do good should be rewarded for the good they do. And those that do evil for the evil. They that do evil should not be justified in their wicked doing. And the just should not be condemned in doing what is right. But that is where our society is really headed, especially with the freedom of speech and stuff like that. which I'm getting really annoyed because there's like, oh, you can't, there's freedom of speech, but you can't make calls to violence. I'm like, well, what are you talking about? Of course you can. You can't tell people to go commit violence. Of course not. But you can call for violence. What do you think people who advocate for wars are doing? What do you think people who advocate for laws against any crime? Anything that's a crime is a call for violence. People asking, like, they want President Trump to be arrested, that's a call for violence. You're telling, and so I also do call for violence. I call for men to come and violently seize those who censor us in the government. They need to be seized and removed from their positions and brought to trials and then punished according to their crimes. I'm willing to be gracious, right? I want to be dealt with graciously. I sometimes joke about, like Nuremberg and stuff. But I don't entirely joke because some people are probably worthy of it up top. But understand, well, boss ordered me to do it. The fact that we have government agencies actively censoring people on the internet, it should be, that is a massive. The government is no longer constitutional when they do. It's like not constitutional government anymore. That is a rebellious. That's an insurrection. That's an insurrection, essentially, against the constitutional order, against lawful order. You have people that are given this authority, then using it outside of that, and then people obeying that. And so that's when you end up people condemning the just. Oh, you can't say that. That exposes the evil doings of the government. So we have to censor the people that are saying the truth because we can't have the truth. We have to justify the wicked. It's like with, Joe Biden's clearly mountains of evidence of his total corruption, bribery. He's like classically guilty politician. Like, a lot of them don't really take they do it all legal. They don't take, like Nikki Haley didn't take bribes from from the arms industry. She went and worked there for a couple of years and made $8 million, right? You don't just, you actually sit on a board somewhere. I guess that's what Hunter did, right? But what did Joe do? He just got his bills paid. But that's the thing, is like when you have to protect an unjust system, you end up doing upside down things. You have to justify the wicked, you have to condemn the just. That's why things are becoming abominable in our country. Because people are willing to do things, they have no fear of God in them. How could you justify this? How can you justify the wicked? Condemn the people that haven't really done anything wrong. Yeah, like look at the people who were arrested after the January 6th. A lot of people were just walking around. Even now they've named Alex Jones. He hasn't done anything. They're naming him as part of the conspiracy to overthrow the government. I'm so sick of this stuff. I'm conspiring to overthrow you all. Yeah, we're going to overthrow you all. Time for a regime change. Time to fire these people. Not just fire them. Those who have, if you've been censoring people and violating the First Amendment, you need to be punished. Either maybe like you get fired and lose your pension. Okay, that's pretty bad. Or maybe you'd rather just do jail time, a couple of years. I know, it's serious. It's really serious. The people that are doing that in government, you've committed serious crimes. I consider it, whoever in the government told them to take my Bible studies down, you've committed a serious crime against the Constitution. It's not the problem. We don't have laws in the books of what to do with people when because they weren't like, okay, what do we do when the bureaucracy starts to censor people in spite of the Constitution saying they can't? What is the punishment? We need to retroactively do that and then go back and find them all. We're going to get you out of your little holes. That's my opinion. I'm very adamant, unless the Lord comes, unless the Antichrist appears, because it's like, as far as I know, only Satan can defeat us. Wherefore is there a price in the hand of a fool to get wisdom? He hath no heart to it. Why do sometimes fools they want to buy wisdom? They're willing to buy it. It's even said, Jesus said, I counsel thee to buy of me gold tried in the fire, that thou mayest be rich. And, like, for example, Simon the sorcerer sought to buy the ability to lay his hands on people so that they would receive the Holy Ghost. He wanted to buy that ability, and the apostles rebuked him for being so wicked as to think that you could buy such a thing. And to pray for him. I'm sorry, whatever. Can't buy it. But the fool will try to buy it. And then literally they'll go to someone who's wise and say, here, I'll pay you to tell me what to do. And then they'll tell them what they need to do, and then they won't do it. That's how fools are. They don't have the heart to do the wise thing. And even when you tell them what the wise thing is, they're like, I think I'll do the other thing. And I'll tell you what. Many times when I've been foolish in my life, I know that because that's exactly what I did. That's exactly what I did. I went and, I didn't maybe literally buy wisdom, but I went looking for wisdom. I actually took the time. I spent time trying to figure it out. And then it's like, well, why do fools want to buy wisdom seeing they don't have a heart for it? What is a heart for wisdom? I guess it's the heart to crave not only to know right. I don't know. What is it about the fool? I guess because he thinks he knows. In a lot of my life, I've been that way. Like I said, the older I get, the more stupid I think I am, and the more foolish I think I am. I used to think I was a lot smarter. I don't even try to act as smart anymore. Because I look back and I'm like, I think that was partly an act. I mean, because I thought I was trying to act smart and be smart. And I'm not that I don't have intelligence. But I look back and I think, and it's just I think it's a process of maturity. A lot of times people don't be, I don't mind people if they were to criticize or mock me. Oh, he thinks he even says he's foolish. And this guy is, that's fine. Because I don't really see the benefit in I mean, there is a benefit to tooting your own horn. You can pull the wool over people's eyes, and but I'm not looking for people who are just led about like fools. I'm not looking for people per se. I'm not like trying to amass myself a following. That's the other thing. This is purely just for the joy of it. As far as me and my wife. There's always someone watching this study. That's my wife. Why the study keeps going, because as long as there's one audience member, I just don't like preaching to nobody. So, have a heart to know wisdom. To truly, not just to know it, but to take it in. Be willing to, that's about being a new wineskin, about being able to let the Lord speak to you. To not be so expert a Christian that you can't let Christ himself mold you. Because I do think that there's a way that seems right unto a man. Sometimes I think even people think there's like a way to be a Christian, not really what the Lord taught. It's more of there's too much hypocrisy. It's all about outward show. And it's about numbers, building things, not solid. Because they just don't end up being so. If they were solid, then they wouldn't be falling apart, right? A friend loveth at all times. And a brother is born for adversity. A friend there is a friend that sticketh closer than a brother, is also said. Obviously, friends do betray, right? Like Psalms, friend set up his heel against me. But a true friend, does love it all for all things, right? A friend, right? That's the idea. Having a real friend loves even when, in obviously all times, such as adversity. And very often, those are the times when you find out who your friends are. When you go through adversity. A lot of times, when people are going through tough times, if you had good times before, you go through tough times, no one who you knew, they all of a sudden they all disappear. Me, I don't, I think it's because of having friends and brothers is what's kept my life from being anything like true adversity. I mean, like I said, I've had enough of a taste of adverse events and such to definitely feel compassion with people who suffer through things. I've been close enough to death and loss to sympathize with people who experience death and loss, experienced it. But anyways, it's good to have friends. And in Christ, friends can be brothers. Brother is born for adversity. Because someone who is your blood ought to be close. Like I said, they're friends that stick closer than brothers. Relationships to me are, they have their own value intrinsically in and of themselves. You can have friends that are every bit as important as a family member, especially through Christ. I said born for adversity. That's interesting. That way of talking. I'm trying to figure out what that figure of speech is called. Like, because he's saying he's born for adversity. It's sort of a like I was born to cut trees or something. It's like it is a very striking way of saying someone has an inclination. Like to be supportive in the face of adversity. They are born for it, and it's literally true of a brother that he is literally, because he was born of whatever, the same mother or whatever, same father. Brothers, half brothers. It's not much of a difference if you're raised together. That's the thing. You have a birth connection. There is that connection that tends to do that. And when you are close, is good. If you have close brothers, that's a valuable thing, and valuable to me. I value my brother. I had another brother. I have much of a relationship, but I value what I had with him. He passed away. All right, so come to the end of the hour here. I think we should see you next time, because I don't think there's short order. Whatever. This is. We'll just pick it. Maybe we'll get through the rest of the chapter. I don't know. Only 10 more verses, but we'll see. Anyways, thanks for joining me. We'll be back again tomorrow, Lord willing, and I'm certainly willing to believe He is. Until then, remember the testimony of Jesus, spirit of prophecy.
In that day shall His song be sung in the land